All right, I'm going to kick us off here. Just wanted to, so Car Rigs at Ingram, the firm we're part of now, they do all these marketing hacks for us. And one of the things they wanted to do is say, oh, hey, tell a little bit about yourself every time. And I've done a few of these already. And a few times I've just been quick, like, hey, I'm Mike with Simple Numbers. A lot of you know me and I'm out of here. So I wanted to just give a brief intro about myself. So I've been with Greg Crabtree and the team now for a little over 8 years. I'm currently serving as a business development exec under the Simple Numbers brand for Car Rigs Ingram, and that's post-merger. Many of you, if you don't know, in January we went through a merger with Car Rigs Ingram. Don't worry, nothing really has changed other than the fact that we are now just part of a bigger umbrella. We had been growing at an exponential speed, and really we needed to tap into some extra capacity. And so Greg and Julianne and Donna got merged in with partners, and so now we're under that. So still operating business as usual under the Simple Numbers brand, and there's some bigger things that come with that towards the end of the year. So stay tuned. And so I was a firm administrator and director of client services prior to that. Just some fun things about me. I was a former Army EOD guy. Yeah, we disarmed IEDs, and I just wanted to put that The Hurt Locker is a horribly inaccurate movie. Not a bad movie, just massively inaccurate. I played baseball and majored in accounting in college and earned my MBA while on active duty. And I was born and raised in Erie, Pennsylvania. My goal with giving the Simple Numbers webinars every month is really to just deliver business content aside from our just traditional financial stuff that we talk about. Not to say we won't get into financial stuff, but wanted to bring in great speakers like Andy and our prior ones that can present on different topics. And since we are in the age of sharing resources during this COVID-19, just keep in mind that we have this Simple Numbers crisis management page where we have put out resources, free tools, videos, and presentations, just some cash management tips and things through this crisis, as well as our overall firm umbrella of pages with content on it from the overall Car Rigs Ingram side of things. So let me plug Andy here for a second. Stop sharing my screen. There we go. And so introduce Andy. I wanted to say first, I have vitamin B on my desk. Brandon Gray, our senior consultant, when we went on quarantine, he did not take Andy's book with him. So Andy, make sure you can hammer Brandon on that one. And so I commandeered it while he is gone and have been reading through it. It's pretty cool. I was telling Andy and joking, it's like, hey, I'm a former Army guy. My attention span's like 11 seconds. And it's nice that it's pretty much one page. I get to check my reading box for the day and knock it out. And the most important thing is it has this handy dandy
you can't get
marker
off
there. No. And it's right there, and it just slides in there. And so I know where I left off. So I've known Andy for a long time, basically since I started working with Greg. He's the founder and head coach at Petra Coach, where he and his team of entrepreneurial business coaches deploy their no BS approach to inspire, transform, and scale organizations. As a serial entrepreneur, Andy started his first company while still in college, which he subsequently built into a multi-year Inc. 500 corporation and successfully exited. Now he and his team coach businesses and audiences towards mastering the same habits he uses to scale his and his clients, which he calls members, businesses, and teams. Andy is best known for his no-try-life approach to both professional and personal growth. That is eliminating the attitude of trying. Success always boils down to doing. Further, when your actions are fueled with purpose, alignment, and accountability, you'll succeed more often and with much less drama. He's also penned several books of business and leadership success, including the Amazon bestseller No Try, Only Do, Building a Business on Purpose, Alignment, and Accountability, and a more recent book, which I just shared, Vitamin B for Business. Andy is a member of Forbes Coaches Council, Entrepreneurs Organization, and Vern Harnish's Scale Up Leader Council. He and Petra Coach have received notable accolades, including Nashville's Entrepreneur of the Year, Best in Business, Most Admired CEO, and multiple inclusions on Inc.'s 500 and 5,000 list. All right, take it away.
Good grief, son. That's a lot of information. It's the longest intro I've ever had.
Your company sent it, man. I asked for a bio.
I got to get him to work on it. It needs to be quick. As you're coming in the room, and then Mike, if you want to,
Yep.
I can play doorman, we'll let people in. So a lot of these webinars that we've been doing and you've been seeing, you just come in and you kind of listen, but this is very participatory. So I want to, if you can, and I'm getting messages over here, people cannot and do not have a camera, that's totally fine. But if you can, let's turn on our cameras. I'll go over some ground rules really quickly. Update your name for us. So if you hover over your picture, there's 3 little dots in the upper right-hand corner. If you click on that, it'll say rename. You can go down to rename and you can rename yourself. So think about it. It's really cool. You can create whatever you want. So give us your name, your business, and where you are so we can share a little bit across here. I want you to ask and answer questions for me. If you're kind of unfamiliar with Zoom, open up your chat inside of there, because I'm going to ask you some questions and I want you to respond to those questions. So ask them if you have them, answer them if you're asked. Hey, Mauricio, good to see you. And then look for ways to take action. Do me a favor, really quickly, everybody pay attention, turn your cameras on. I'm going to ask you your very first question. I want you to raise your hand. Raise your hand if you have nothing else to do but stay on this webinar for the next 55 minutes. Raise your hand if you have nothing else to do. I got nothing else. Oh, no, but everybody has something else to do. All right, perfect. So you're in the right place. The reason I asked that question is don't waste your time gathering the information that I'm going to give you if you're not going to go do something with it. Do something with it. There are 4 sections in here, 4 major sections. At the end of each section, I'm going to ask you, what are you going to do? And I want you to put it in the chat box. So pay attention. Does everybody have a pen? Show me your pens. Everybody has a pen, something to write with, something to write on. Show me your pens. We're not moving on, Rita, until we see your pen. Told you. Turn your cameras on. Turn your cameras on. Ooh, nice job, Kevin. Turn your cameras on. If I can see you, that'd be awesome. So look for ways to take action as we move through this presentation. I'll tell you a really quick story. Does anybody hike? Anybody do hikes? Raise your hand if you do hikes. A few people. Have anybody done a 14er before? Been up a 14er? Nick, John, Maxon, you been on a 14er?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, awesome. In Colorado?
No, in Afghanistan.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Little different. So this is, man, my slides are a little bit jumpy. So this is Long's Peak in Colorado. The state of Colorado has 53 14ers. 14ers are essentially mountains that are at least 14,000 feet in height. In Colorado, there are, again, 53. It's unusual that they're usually like 14,152 feet to 14,367 feet. There's not much over that. They don't get very big. This particular day, they call this the deadliest 14er in Colorado because people die doing this. This picture was taken about 7 a.m. right as the sun was coming up, and we're going to trek right across here. We're going to go through that little spot on the right-hand side where that right arrow is called the keyhole. And we're going to trek across the back of this mountain to get to the summit, which is up here. Sunrise is about 5 hours into the beginning of this trip. The overall round trip is almost 12 hours. So it's about 8 hours or so to get up and about half that amount of time to get back down. 5,300 feet again in this particular run, and 6.5 hours above the tree line. And that's important as I tell this story because trees stop growing about 10,000 feet. So it took 6.5 of the 12 hours to go the last 4,000 feet. And there's, oxygen depletion and everything else that's happening up here. So as the story goes, and the way this came to me was a few weeks ago, just like your business is, my business, we got in this kind of crazy spot where people started calling and saying, hey, I don't think I'm going to be able to continue to work with you. Hey, I don't think I'm going to be able to continue to work with you. Because there was a lot of unknown, right? And things started spiraling, and it became really, really difficult. Business became really, really difficult, just like this. And I'm a believer, if you do hard things, you have the ability to do hard things. And for some reason, this trip, this mountain climb came back to mind for me. Step by step by step. It's like the ultimate way to prove that anything is possible if you just keep moving. So in those moments where business got really crazy, I knew if I could just keep moving step by step, forward, that I could get through it just like I did on that mountain. So this particular day, I climbed with 2 other friends of mine. They're from Florida. Raise your hand if you're from Florida. Raise your hand if you just have a background that's from Florida. Raise your hand if you're not paying attention to me right now. There he is. All right. Two guys from Florida, flattest state in the U.S., and we go to Colorado to climb mountains. Makes a lot of sense. Jeremy and Sean are their names. No less than 3 times on this trip, another piece of information, they're also 20 years younger than I am. No less than 3 times on this trip did I grab Jeremy, who I knew had the keys to the car in his backpack, and say to Jeremy, hey, Jer, why don't you give me the keys, man? You guys finished summiting this. It's killing me today. We had done another one 2 days prior. I'm going to go wait in the car, and I'll see you there. And Jeremy would just look at me, and he would say, no way, dude. You signed up for this. You started it. You're going to finish it. And he would turn, and he would walk away from me. Well, I had a choice. I could go stand in the parking lot for 10 hours, or I could just follow Jerry. So I made a choice in those moments of pain that could just continue step by step by step. Just keep up. I had somebody with me, which will be an important point in just a second. This is a close-up picture of the keyhole as we got a little closer. Still doesn't really do it justice. This is about a 50-foot, from this rock to there is about 50 feet. You can't really see it, but that little spot right there is a person. And all of these boulders are anywhere in the size from a car to a house. So you're climbing around all of this to get to that keyhole, and you get around the back side of the mountain. It looks a little bit like this. If you fall, you die, obviously. And then you get to like the last 1,100 feet of elevation here. And as you can see, this is pretty straight up. I mean, it's like climbing a ladder. Think about that for a second. A 1,100 foot tall ladder, not that difficult to really do until you're standing on the very top of this sucker, and you got to turn around and come down the ladder 1,100 feet. And you come down, you turn, and you put your butt on the ground, and you put your hands behind you and your feet in front of you. You do your very best not to fall. There's sections on this mountain where you would stop, and you would pick a spot, and you would say, I'm going to slide. And your descent became a slide on the rocks, and your feet would hit another rock that you chose to stop yourself so you didn't tumble to your death. But you end up summiting the mountain. And there's 3 things that I realized 4 or 5 weeks ago about this trip that I hadn't realized before because I was doing it in my business. The first was I need someone, or I need several someones. I didn't realize until this particular climb how much I needed Jeremy and Sean to get to the summit, And right now we need someone or several someones as we go through this crisis in our businesses. We need people to have ideas to help us through, to hold our hands, sometimes to kick us in the butt. The human body's not designed so you can pat your own back or kick your own butt, right? You need somebody to do that for you. And then on the mountain, defense, stabilize, reset, and offense is what we play constantly, right? So it's defense, stabilize, reset, offense, and repeat. Defense, stabilize, reset, offense, and repeat. And we started doing this really rapidly, back in early March inside of business. We went into defense mode really fast. Everybody went into defense mode, correct? Hands up if you were in defense mode. Play around, play with me. All right, perfect. You went to defense mode. Then you got a little bit of stabilization back. Then you move to a little bit of reset. Maybe you're playing offense. I'm going to talk about each of those sections. And I'm going to give you tools so you know you're playing those sections really well. But I'm going to tie it to Tiger King. Who knows what Tiger King is?
Oh, God.
First, you know what Tiger King is. If you don't know what Tiger King is, don't get started or you'll stay there. So this is going to be like magic. So pay attention. I'm going to tie climbing a mountain to Tiger King to your business. Climbing a mountain to Tiger King to your business. So here we go. Tiger King. Defense on a mountain is kind of like this tiger in the upper left-hand corner. It's going to eat your face off. It's going to kill you. On the mountain, it's when you're moving across the mountain, you got low oxygen levels anyway. You can't breathe. Your heart's pounding out of your chest. You're in all kinds of pain. Your brain is saying, stop. You're not supposed to do this. This is not survival. This is not what survival means. And if you trip and fall, you die because you end up at the bottom of the mountain. The tiger is going to kill me. Now, when through defense to stabilize is a little bit like the Tiger King in the upper right-hand corner. The tiger could still kill me. But on the mountain, I've caught my breath. I've lowered my heart rate. I've checked in with my buddies to see how we're doing. And I've got clarity of what I'm dealing with. So things have calmed down. There's stability. And then from there on the mountain, we would move to reset. Reset's a little bit like this tiger that's mesmerized. Not going to kill me. Getting cool. kind of beginning to own that, and I'm understanding it better. On the mountain, reset looks like I'm here, I'm going to that rock. I'm here, I'm going up that chimney. I'm going to go around this turn. I picked that path to get there, and I've chosen my gear. We're going to need sticks. We're going to need helmets, whatever the gear we may need to get there. We have a plan. We know where we're going, and we have a plan. And then lastly, offense. Offense is like the tiger in the bottom right. I got it by the chain, and it's coming with me. It's mine. I own it. And on the mountain, that is when we start moving again. And when we're moving again is when we communicate, evaluate, and we start using our resources. We're consuming water, we're consuming energy, we're consuming oxygen. So those are the 4 phases in the mountain. Those are the 4 phases we play in business, and we've been playing them pretty rapidly recently. So in the chat box, this is your first question. I want you to type in, where are you playing right now? Are you in defense? Tiger's still going to kill you? Are you in stabilization? Tiger could still kill me, but it's getting calmed down. Are you in reset? You're figuring out your path that's next? Or are you in offense? I got all that packed up and ready, man, and I'm running 100 miles an hour, dragging my tiger up my mountain. So start typing them in so we can see what those look like. And Maxon, you can see these too, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Offense, reset, 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 reset. Keep them coming. That's not everybody. We don't move forward until everybody participates. Oh, really? I'm kidding. Offense. It's interesting because I've in the past week, I've been all over the world doing this, which is interesting because I really did used to fly all over the world doing this work. A bunch of these are sent privately to me. Reset and waiting on legislation come through clarity from Illinois today. All right. Reset. So a lot of people are playing in reset and offense. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time in defense then as we go through this. But the result of our time today are 2 things. I'm going to give you the tools that I'm going to cover in this presentation today that you can take and use with your teams and give you access to them. The second thing is I'm going to offer you a workshop if you'd like to come attend it. I'm going to give you a special code that you can come and bring your teams, and we will work with them inside of this workshop at 0 cost to you as a gift from Maxon and his group there. So this is something I want you to keep in mind. Let's see. Nick, can you hear me okay? Awesome. Can you tell me what you see that's interesting in this picture?
Opportunity to me.
What about it? What do you see that's interesting?
More attracted to the opportunity than the other 2.
Good for you. Good for you. Lee, what do you see?
Opportunity is part of the crisis, and vice versa.
And so is danger, right?
Yeah. So they afford each other. They're related.
They're totally related. And this is Mandarin. So when you're talking to your teams, this is a great image for you to talk to them about. Because in crisis, there is absolutely danger. We have to pay attention to danger, and we have to mitigate the danger. And in crisis, there is opportunity. The first symbol in danger is the first symbol in crisis. The first symbol in opportunity is the last symbol in crisis. You can't spell one without the other in Mandarin. So if you think about it, there is danger, and we must mitigate it. And there is opportunity, and we have to identify it and move as quickly as we can towards it. As Nick said, I'm way more attracted to the opportunity side. But first, you have to understand where your battlefield is. You have to understand, what does your playing field even look like? Andrew, if we're going to take a trip anywhere in the world, what's the first thing we have to know?
Oh, where we want to go to.
Where we're going to go is incorrect. Don, what's the first thing we have to know?
Look at the whole playing field itself. Who's our opponents?
So if I'm taking a trip anywhere in the world, what is the first thing I have to know?
Oh, sorry, misread that. Where are you going to?
Not where you're going to. That's what Andrew said. Kevin.
Oh.
Kevin, pay attention. I'm going
to I would have to say, what's the goal?
What's the goal? That would be where I'm going. That's an incorrect answer. The first thing you have to know when you're going to take it anywhere is where you are right now. Where you are right now. You go to book an airline flight, the first thing I ask you is, what airport are you leaving from? Think about that for a second. When you plan your business, you don't just arbitrarily start looking at your P&L and your numbers and your balance sheet. You look at them now in a current state? And then where do we want to go? We have to clearly understand where we are. The challenge with that in this environment is the battlefield in which we're playing has shifted. Is anybody's business exactly like it was 3 months ago? Yeah, probably not. So the first thing you have to do is understand your battlefield. The easiest way to do that is an old-timey SWOT document. If you haven't done one of these recently, this is the first tool you can download from the vault, and I'll give you access at the end of this. And it's a short-term SWOT document: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. This is a very easy tool to use. Jody, here's what you're going to do. You're going to print this off. You're going to hand it to your 6 team members, and you're going to say these 3 things. Read the instructions, fill it out, give it to me at 3 o'clock. That's it. You don't have to do any other explanation than that. Read the instructions, fill it out, give it to me at 3 o'clock. Once you have the information back, then you can compile the information, and you get a better understanding of what your playing field, your battlefield actually looks like. You get clarity on your strengths. What are your strengths right now? Not what they were pre-COVID, but what are they now? What are your opportunities right now? What are the threats right now? And then what are our inherent weaknesses right now? Does that make sense? Say yes. Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense and you can do that. Awesome. Good collaboration. So let's talk about defense quickly. And again, I don't want to spend much time at all. Second tool, crisis scenario planning. Maxon, you were on the front lines, man. I mean, this is how you spent your career, scenario planning, right?
That's right, yeah.
If this happens, do that. If this happens, do that. If this happens, do that. Now, we should have been scenario planning a hell of a lot more because we had to figure it out as we went over the last 2 months. This document is easy for you to use as well. Download it. It's the top 25 crisis scenarios for COVID-19. Many of these you've already played. There's probably something on there you need to pay attention to. So grab it out of the vault, give it to your team. They'll rank each one of them 0 to 10. 0, not important. 10, very important. Jody, they're just going to give these back to you as well. And you're going to identify, is there anything on here that we need to pay attention to right now? Again, it's a defensive move, but something that you may need to be playing. And then I want to touch on this really quickly. Oh man, why is it doing that? Hang on a second. I'm going to fix this. Technical difficulties. I want to stay right here for just a second. So,
Candy, could you return just a little bit for the short-term opportunities, the SWOT?
You want to go back to here, Mauricio?
Yeah, the next one. Thank you. That's really important. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
He's always been like that guy. All right. So every single person on this call, look at me really quickly, has been doing this already. You've been health, safety, and well-being of myself, my family, my team. Like that came to light really fast, correct? Shake your head if it did. And you've been playing that defensive move, making sure everybody health, safety, and well-being. However, I think this is going to be our next issue, the mental health of ourselves, our families, and our team members. I don't think we get out of this without some level of PTSD on the other side of it. Really quick, grab your chat. I want you to answer this question. Get your fingers ready. Get your fingers ready. Here we go. During what season, winter, spring, summer, or fall, during what season do the most suicides occur? Winter, spring, summer, or fall? Winter, 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 winter. You guys are getting better at this. Spring, spring, winter.
Spring.
That's not typing it in chat. Spring. Perfect. It makes total sense for it to be winter. That's incorrect. It's actually spring. What happens is in the winter time, we're in fight or flight. We're hunkered down. It's cold outside. We're going to get through this thing. We're going to fight, fight, fight. We come out of it into the spring. That's when the depression begins. It doesn't happen while we're in it. It happens after we're out of it. Same thing is true of this particular circumstance. Post-traumatic stress disorder exists, and it will exist for everyone at some level after. So keep that in mind. You guys agree with me? Yes, you agree with me? Okay. So as leaders of businesses, this is your next kind of battlefield. I believe the next health crisis we're going to have globally is a mental health crisis. And we need to start paying attention to that for ourselves, our families, and our team members and our communities right now. So that's a defensive move. Although everybody said I'm resetting offense, that's a defensive move you need to think about playing right now. And then take your pen and write this down. Be okay being unpopular. Be okay being unpopular. And some of you are like, I'm totally okay with being unpopular. I kind of like it. But think about this time period being more dictatorial. Go do this, as the battle scene says, get off the beach. We need to make sure that we're able to give direction and hold people accountable to doing things really, really quickly. We just spent an entire decade figuring out how to get consensus and buy-in across teams and make sure everybody was involved in the decision-making. All that stuff that we just spent will get us in trouble in this time period. We as leaders need to make our decisions, and we need to point people in the direction that we need them to move, and we need to make sure that they're moving in that direction. Has anybody dealt with this already, where they've already had to do some of this and they were unpopular for it? A few? Yeah, totally agree. 2 weeks ago, I was listening to a podcast that one of my team members was doing, and on the podcast, they were saying, it won't be the exact words, but it's really, really close. They were saying something like this: wow, you know, in the beginning of this, my leadership team made some really fast decisions. Unbelievably grateful for them moving us in the right direction. We made such big pivots, and it went on and on and on about all these accolades. That same dude, 6 weeks prior, it was like mutiny. Like, I thought I was going to have to put him in a headlock and drag him through the streets to get him to do what I need him to do. Those are the decisions and some of the fight that we're going to have. And if you think it was bad 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, when we were in defense, wait till you begin to move your businesses to something completely different than it used to be, and you begin to drag your teams into that. That's going to be another directive move. So if your business is going to be way different in the future than it was in the past, and you've got a bunch of team members who have been doing it the same way for 10 years, they're going to get unhappy, and you're going to have to be unpopular to get them through it. Mauricio, this is that conversation we had. So get off the beach. Get off the beach. Let's talk about obsess over cash. Maxon, this is where your team comes into play, right? So this is, you guys were one of our very first calls, and we went through everything. I'm not going to jump on this too much, except to say, clean out your closet. Clean out your closet. Find out what's valuable. Give me a thumbs up if you remember the movie The Jerk. Remember the movie The Jerk? Remember the OptiGrab? Steve, you remember this movie? Steve Martin movie? The OptiGrab? Right? So he invented this thing for your eyeglasses. He made a ton of money, and then he lost it all because it went bad. And if you remember the scene in The Jerk where he's in his mansion and they're like taking all of his shit, they're taking his mansion, kicking him out of his house. And he says, all I need is this lamp. And he puts it under his arm. He says, all I need is this thermos. And he puts it under his arm. And he starts walking down the street. He's got like 7 things, right? All I need is this. Every single person just went through that exercise when they left their office 8 weeks ago.
Where did you guys are now? Where is that?
You want to find those guys? Thanks.
Yeah, I'm looking.
All right. When you left your office, you looked around your office and you said, all I need is this, all I need is this, all I need is this, all I need is this. And you went and set up your home office and you got to work. And I just encourage you to think about all of those things that you had prior. I mean, I've got an office. It's really nice. I got a lot of really cool shit back there. It's very expensive as well. And all this time I've been thinking, do I really need that? Do I really need all that stuff back there? Do I need to keep that? Does it actually bring value to what I do? It's a question you need to ask yourself. If you hadn't worn that shirt in 6 years, it might be time to get rid of it. There's something in your business that's not bringing value, something in your life that's not bringing value. It might be time to clean out your closet in a defensive move. You guys are already doing this because you work with Crabtree guys, but daily cash flow reporting. I won't stick on these dollar stuff too much. And then, did anybody have to lay people off? Raise your hand. Lay people off. You still have people laid off? Keep your hand up. All right. So you've got some re-entry decisions to make. Yes, at some point. Okay. Make sure you're going to bring, like, every time I ask somebody, have you laid some people off? The follow-up question has been typically, is there anybody that you laid off that you don't want back? Sometimes. Yeah. This means yes, by the way, Sarah. Yeah, if there is doubt, there probably is doubt, right? So let's make those decisions now. That's the point. So it's a defensive move, but let's make the decisions now and communicate it to those people. So if we're going to bring somebody back and we know we're going to bring them back, make sure we're communicating that. If we're not going to bring somebody back, then we need to be communicating that as well.
Hey, Andy. Hey, you can go ahead and touch a little bit on the financial side. Not everyone on here is a client of ours. Some of them are just followers of our Simple Numbers content and things like that. So feel free if you want to just touch on that real quick.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So, get yourself a regular report on cash flow, and not revenue, not profit, not margin, but cash flow. And if you do not understand how to get that number and how to look at it regularly, that's what these guys are for. They can give you the easy way to pull all that stuff together so you have some sort of a dashboard, but get the education. That website, and Mike will put that up at the very end again, the COVID-19 resource page. Greg has some great information about how to just calculate this. Point is, this is your fuel to get to the other side. This is your escape fuel, through the atmosphere. If you don't have this, you're not going to make it through the atmosphere. So make sure you understand how, number one, to measure cash flow, and you're looking at it on a regular basis. And then lastly, teach your team how to move the levers to improve your cash flow. Teach your team how to move the levers to improve. What do they need to do? Do they just speed up AR? Here you go, some things you can look at. Collect your accounts receivable faster. Has anybody's accounts receivable slowed down? Raise your hand. Yes. Like, every single person that owes you money is today making a decision. Oh, do I pay them or do I pay them? Who am I going to pay? Because I got to make a choice. Can't pay everybody. Who am I going to pay? Or I'm hoarding my cash. I'm going to slow it down. Right? They're doing the same thing to you that you're having to make decisions to do to somebody else. And it's a cyclical piece. There are things that you can do to speed up your accounts receivable so you get that money faster. Think about old school ways, like saying thank you when somebody pays you, right? You get a check in the mail, write a note of appreciation. Hey, I'm really glad you picked us this week to pay. I know it's really tight out there. Please keep us in mind next week when it's time to pay again. Simple stuff like that. And you'll get this presentation. There's an entire checklist here of things that you can go do. All right. First question, or first of the 4 sections, that was defense. What did you write on your little list that you're going to now circle and say, that's the one thing I'm going to go do? I'm not wasting my time on another damn webinar. I'm going to take some action. What's the one thing I'm going to go do? Put that in the chat really fast. Keep them coming. Keep those coming. And Paul, I got your message. I'm happy to chat after about some of that. And I have some insight on that too. Wow, that was quick response. All right, keep them coming. Short-term SWOT with the leadership team. Good job, Jeff. This is about commitment. What's the one thing? Short-term, terms to private customers, send gifts, reevaluate sales techniques. Good. SWOT. All right, keep those flowing in. This is a part of your accountability, is you choose one thing to go do and you put it into the system. Let's talk about stabilize as you're doing that. Stabilization is a lot around communication. Who's doing daily huddles today? Raise your hand. Doing daily huddles. A few of you are doing daily huddles. Daily huddles is a great little method for communication flow in an organization. It's 10 to 15 minutes every single day, and has like either a whole team or a cascading cadence. Again, we will give you this information in the vault. If you're not doing them today, there will be an agenda in the vault you can download. Please look at it and make a decision if it's something you want to do. If you're already doing daily huddles, look at the agenda and see if there's a way to improve your daily huddle. Every single thing you're doing right now should be being evaluated for improvement, including all of your meetings. So daily huddle is a very important thing. And then dashboards. This, full disclosure, this is software that we created about 7 years ago. It's also the dashboard that we use inside of our organization. I believe that it doesn't make any sense for you to play any game without knowing what the score is. Anybody have little kids in here? Anybody have little kids? Anybody remember like the 5-year-old soccer teams that used to play like herd soccer? They always said, Paul, you have kids that played that soccer, herd soccer? And they always said, hey, well, we don't keep score in this league. But every parent on the sideline knew exactly what that score was the entire time. Keeping score is really important. And exposing the score to the team and making sure that everybody knows it is really important. So again, if you do not use something like, you can download this and use it, but find yourself some way to have your scoreboard very visible to your team. These are our 3 most important critical numbers. And I'm going to come back to this one in a second. These are our priorities that we're working on right now and the progress on them. And then these are all of our meeting rhythms that fall within this tool. Have a scoreboard. And Max, and this looks very familiar, I'm sure.
I've seen it before.
Yeah. So this is on our, it's in the vault as well. This is the tool that we use to create our forecast. When this first went down, we sat down as a group and we said, where are we now financially? What does it look like if we drop 10%? What does it look like if we drop 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%? We picked 35 and 50% as our markers. But because we were able to forecast it, it allowed us to sit down and say, when we get to 35%, that's when it looks pretty bad. What do we do at that point? So it was a scenario plan for dollars.
Hey, and everyone keep in mind too, that there is profit loss and then there is also cash flow loss. So sometimes there's going to be a discrepancy between those. As Andy mentioned, people might pay you a little slower. Obviously, as you drop in profit, you might see significant cash flow loss further down the line, even when you start to gain steam. So keep that in mind as things come to turn back on and you're planning cash-wise that you're going to have to probably come back up higher on the cash side coming out of it to start balancing out where the relationship probably was prior to COVID-19.
Yeah, because it'll take you that cash to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm. And Greg has that on those tools page. Greg actually has a part in there where he talks about the cash flow impact loss versus that profit loss.
But think about, and I'll just tell you what we did, and this works in the inverse as well. This is what Mike's talking about. You know, we took this thing and said, what does it look like in the decline? And now what is it going to look like at the incline on the other side? But for us, we did this exercise 8 weeks ago, and we did it with Brandon as part of Mike's team. And we said at 35% reduction, and for us, it's gross margin. It's what we measure, not revenue, but think of it as revenue. These are the things that have to happen. This guy goes to 0 comp, right? And then the team members all go to a reduced pay structure as well. And we start thinking about layoffs. And then we said, if it gets to 50% gross margin reduction, if we lose that much in business, then obviously this guy hasn't been paid for a long time. And we start laying some people off and some other changes have to be made. So the decision was, now we took that back to the team and had that conversation. In the absence of information, there is fear, anxiety, and worry. But when I go back to the team and I say, hey, look, right now we're here, super green, right? This would be 20%. This would be 35. If we get to that place on this dial, that's 35% reduction in revenue. Think of it as revenue. Then I don't get paid and you guys have to start taking pay cuts. If we get to 50%, I don't get paid. You guys are taking pay cuts. And Kevin, Nick, Jimmy, Mauricio, and Luke, you guys have to go home and we're not paying you anything. Very, very clear with my communication, which made me unpopular. Don't forget that part, made me unpopular. But the next part was I gave every person on the team all the tools that they needed to keep that number in the green. So I gave them the information. I said, Jody, here's the 7 things you can do to go fight for this and make sure that we don't get to the 35%. Now go do them. Rita, here's the 7 things you can do to keep us in the green, not make sure we don't get to the 35%. Now go do them. Every single person took action and we had the ability to keep it in the green. So I gave them the ability and responsibility information. They made those choices. And then I put them on a dashboard so they could see the number every single day. The highest we ever got so far is 24%. We're down to 18.88 right now. So we never really got close to 35. But I believe if I hadn't have done that and given them the tools and the information and the direction, that we would have been at 35 pretty damn quickly. And then last thing, and stabilize. So take your notes, because I'm going to ask you the same question again. What are you going to go do? Is this kind of return to work? Who's working from home right now? Just raise your hand. Working from home? Are you going to return to an office? Yes, no, yes, maybe, some. All right. So this is a return to work checklist, not necessarily a return to office. But if you're thinking about what's the next phase, so as part of the stabilization, it's a simple checklist. You print it off and you just go, oh, I hadn't thought about that. I need to think about that. I hadn't thought about that. I need to think about that. So that's a tool you can put to work right away. In the chat, we just got through stabilization. What's the one thing on your list you're going to go do? So start typing that in. Start typing that in. And I'm going to jump on reset. I don't see it typing. I'm going to keep them coming. I don't see them yet. Boom. Revisit our scenarios. Nice job. Build a dashboard. Work on a dashboard and scorecards. Perfect. Good. You guys are listening. Visual dashboard. You like the dashboard. Good job. All right. Let's talk about resetting. This is where a lot of you are. This is, to me, what I've found is the number one hang up in this entire process of resetting. Picking a target. Picking a target. How many of you, raise your hand if you own and operate your business? Like you're the entrepreneur. All right, perfect. It's the majority. Pick a target. The unknown creates fear of action. We know that that's true. The unknown creates fear of action. If we know something, we can move towards it. If we have an image of what it's supposed to look like, we can go build it. We've been doing this all of our lives as entrepreneurs. The challenge is we don't know exactly what's going to happen in the future. And this is what's weird to me. This is what's weird to me. Every single person on this call that raised their hand that said, I'm the operator owner of my business, has sat down every quarter or every year with a ton of unknowns and had no trouble whatsoever picking targets. You sat down, Rita, and you said, hey, this year we got 17 clients. End of this next year, we're going to have 40. And here's the plan to go get them. Michelle, you said, hey, we're at 1 million. We're going to be 4 million by the end of the year. And here's how we're going to go do it. Don, you would say, hey, we got 1 location. End of this year, we're going to have 7 locations. And this is the plan to go do it. We didn't have any trouble doing this in the past. You did it as an entrepreneur naturally, totally naturally. It's what you do. But for some reason, we have stopped doing that right now. And I mean that because I see it in entrepreneurs all over the world. I just encourage you to get all the noise out of the way. Don't worry about what's the economy going to do, when are they going to return, are they going to open up restaurants? Don't even think about that. It's going to play into your decision. I get it. But you got to get past knowing all of the information and you just pick your target and start moving towards it. Even if it's in the wrong direction, you will learn along the way. You will learn along the way. The number one thing is pick your target. I'm here, I'm going there. Remember on the mountain, first thing in reset is kind of got stabilized. I'm going up that chimney. And then I'm going to take this path. And this is the gear I need to get there, right? So pick your target. Some ways that you can kind of get better information to pick your target. First one is ask your customer. Anybody have customers? Yes, of course. Ask your customer, how you doing? These are what we call 4Q or 4 questions. How are you doing? What's going on in your industry? How are we doing right now? We serving your needs right now? Hey, tell me what can be most helpful for you right now? What might you need right now? Might not be what I got, but just tell me what would be most helpful for you to have right now. Because if you don't ask that last question, you won't get to, hey, Sarah, you sell this to me, but I need this. You sell this to me, but I need this. And if enough people say this, then maybe you need to be in this business. Or maybe you need to be in this business where yours and this go together. You do this, but man, if you could do this for me, and if you hear that 100 times, you might want to look at that particular space. So ask your customer, and here's an easy path to get that done. The next thing is look for industries that are booming. Number one selling item right now is rubber gloves. This is interesting. Watch this, Mike. Number one increase in sales from where it was to where it is now is bread machines. Now, raise your hand if you've bought a bread machine. Now, I've done at least 50 of these sessions. I don't know how many thousands of people. And I asked that exact same question. I've had exactly one hand get raised. And that's the number one increased sales product. I can't find who the hell's buying bread machines.
The next one will be individual steamers.
Yeah. Or what about workout gear for home?
Cleaning. TikTok pushed bread machines, and now it's pushing individual steamers.
It's crazy. But just watch that, because that gives you information about what you need to reset towards. It might be your new customer is something in an industry you never thought of before. And I'll tell you a story about that in just a second. I love this slide around resets. Mauricio and I had this conversation, I don't know, last week when we spoke. You know you need to change already. Pain creates that opportunity, right? Pain creates that opportunity. If you're already thinking about your reset, right? So Paul, you've already, you know, I was doing business this way. I think I'm going to be doing business this way in the future. You already knew that. Like, you knew 2 years ago that you should have made this change already. How many of us, does that ring true? Like, I knew I already needed to be more online and more digital, and my website updated way before I got to this point, right? Those shifts that we need to go make in the future are probably things we thought about in the shower 2 years ago, last week. Put it on a little note card. Hadn't really paid much attention to it because we're really busy. But this pain is causing us to go make those adjustments, So think about that. I love this kind of picture. You think I didn't know, but the whole time I already knew. You probably already know what that reset looks like. So I'm going to speed it up just a bit. Stick in the chat box. What are you going to do from the reset section? What's your one thing? So Nick, Lee, Jerry, Barry, stick in there. Corinne, what did you see? And we'll talk about offense. Yeah. This is another tool that's going to be in the vault for you to pull down and put to work. It's called a SWOT, which is strengths, weaknesses, and trends. Trends are broken up into two sections in this particular document: short-term trends and long-term trends. And then tomorrow, you'll get a follow-up email that has the links and stuff for these things. In tomorrow's follow-up email for anybody that attended, there's going to be another link that has, that's what this 125 is. There's a system online. I can't give it to you in here because it changes constantly. Of the top 125 fastest growing industries in real time. So it's data scraping the information, and it just puts them into these categories with data. Again, it's just to help inform you where you go play in the future. But think about the trends, the industry change aligned with the trends. Short-term trend, work from home. Yes. Long-term trend, work from home. Yes. Like, that's going to be a long-term trend. It needs to be on our list. And we have to think about in our business, how might we play in that new space? If that's going to be a trend, how might we play in that new space? Lee, if your business in the past has been, you know, we hire people that are within an hour's drive of our location. And if you live in Dallas, you're going to have to move to Nashville to work with us, right? That was kind of the conversation prior to this. But if the trend is going to be work from home, work from anywhere, maybe I now have to think differently about my business model. Can I now just hire anybody anywhere? Can I get a lower cost of talent, cost of labor, because I can hire in places that are less costly? And can I get a higher grade talent for the less money? Can I change my operations to fit what the trend is going to be instead of bucking the system constantly? So think about those trends. I'll give you another one. I had this conversation right before this call. Resurgence of rural America. Does anybody think that people are going to remain in big cities after this? They're like, people are going to continue to flock and move to big cities, or do you think people are going to exit big cities? Nobody has an opinion. They're going to exit. Barry says they're getting the hell out of there. There's a website I saw that has had, it was actually in the Wall Street Journal 2 weeks ago, Mike. It's called the Suburban Jungle. So it has all the major cities. You click on the major city, and it is your shopping cart for you to go out and do real estate buys in all the suburbs. And they had something like a 4,000% increase in business in the month of April. So people are leaving major metropolitan cities for more of the country. But think about what are all those trends. Please write this down. Everybody look at me for a second. Put your eyeballs up here. So make sure you hear this. Who are your top 25 all-time? Man, if I'd have been working with these people in the past, it would be awesome list. So create your dream list of potential clients, affiliates, influencers, just need to know that human being, whatever. And make sure that you're staying in touch with them, getting in touch with them right now. Because like in the history, our history at least, people are more accessible now than they ever have been. And we're going to lose that window very, very soon. Like this should have been taken advantage of over the last 2 months. And you have a short window to take advantage of it. If you can just make a list of who those really awesome people are that you need to be connected to and find ways to get in front of them right now, now is the time to do it. That's an offensive move. Be smart when you advertise. These people wanted me to purchase a yacht about 5 weeks ago, and I thought it was kind of a dumb move. But think about marketing. Think about marketing. This is a story about Post and Kellogg's from the Great Depression. And Post was the big player back in cereal during the Depression. Kellogg Brothers were just a little bitty. They had this thing called Rice Krispies. Nobody knew anything about it. Post said, hey, things are tight right now. We're not going to spend any money on advertising. Kellogg's Brothers said, hey, let's spend some money on this new brand Rice Krispies thing and see what happens. Well, if you read down here, it says how many billions of packets of cereal have been sold over the last century as a result of the single proactive decision to spend a little bit of money. And I want you to think about it like this. I'm not telling you to go spend money on marketing, but here's what I am telling you. If your industry is quiet, if they used to be really loud, if your competitors spend a lot of money, then you had to spend a lot of money to be louder than them. If they've gotten quiet, like Post did during the Depression, it doesn't take a whole lot for you to be louder than your competitor right now. And marketing is less expensive than it was 2 months ago. Marketing is less expensive than it was 2 months ago. This may be something for you to look at to set yourself up for success. If they're quiet, Mauricio, this might be good for the restaurant. People are available, obviously. There's 33 million of them in the US. So keep your good ones. People are available. Build a bench now for hire. Does anybody do virtual benches right now in a hiring process? All right, so Don, so part of top grading, a little bit. So think in the future, hey, if you know you're gonna need a VP of sales and they're kind of expensive, you're not gonna hire them until mid-2021, start interviewing for them right now. So think about this. If you just had 25 people you talked to because you had the time to interview them and you could do it on Zoom and you could find them quickly and you've already put them through the interview process and you pick 10 of them that you really kind of like to talk to maybe next year when you're ready to hire, isn't that a lot better than attempting to find them in the middle of next year and making a bad decision? Think about what you could do now to build a bench for hire in the future. Trainings and certifications as part of offense. Prior to now, we never had time for trainings because we were too busy. All you guys who raised your hand and said, we laid some people off and we're going to be bringing them back. Think about before they come back, what training they need to take before they come back to work? Before you offer them that job. So Sarah, you were in that boat, right? So what training would you like for them to have? They never could do it while they were working because they were too damn busy. Send them the training, get them the training, say, hey, look, our goal is to get you back in 6 weeks, 12 weeks, 18 weeks, whatever. And we need you to have this training. We need you to have this training so you're ready when you come back. Easy, right? Offensive. And then lastly, projects you've always dreamed of. Every single person on this call that raised their hand have had like these magical dreams about shit you wanted to get done in your business and you never did it. Oh, I really want to make this happen. I'm going to change out the CRM to something completely different. We got to rebuild the website completely. I'm going to move my offices. I'm going to tear down an office. Whatever the thing is that you always wanted to get done, and you didn't do it because it was too disruptive. Oh, it takes too much energy, too much time, too much whatever. It was too disruptive. We couldn't tear people away from something long enough to go get this done. Well, listen to me. We're already screwed up. Like disruption is upon us. adding that little piece of disruption to what's happening right now is hardly even noticeable. So what I want you to consider is, could you take some of these projects you've always dreamed of because they are disruptive and just mush them up with the disruption you already have? Would that be better than letting it calm back down and creating another bubble of disruption down the road somewhere, or maybe never getting it done at all? I can tell you in my own business, we've got disruption on top of disruption on top of disruption. I am putting it all into right now because I'm not dealing with it and doing it later. We're going to do it all right now. We're going to rip it completely apart and start all the way over. Just think about, what are all those projects you always dreamed of? Could you go ahead and get them done now? And then you have to plan, set a goal, make a plan, do the work. This is the tool to go do that with. In the Vault, this is your priority planner. Very simple. What are the things I need to get done? By what date? Who's going to own them? I break each one down into this sections over here. Literally, just follow the instructions that are on these pages. And none of you will do this, by the way, because you don't like to practice. Let's see. Quick question. Maxon, what's your favorite professional sports team?
Oh, the Dallas Cowboys.
How are they doing right now?
I don't want to talk about it.
So,
where do you want to go with this webinar, Andy?
I want you to think about this for a second. Professional sports team, what is the ratio of time they spend practicing to playing? Ratio. 10 to 1, 100 to 1, 20 to 1? It's not a test. It's a guess.
I'd probably say 100 to 1.
100 to 1. All right. So if it's 101, so they spend 100 hours for every hour they're on the field playing on Sundays, in this case, Sundays, Thursdays, or potentially on a Saturday, right? We as business owners do the exact opposite. Exact opposite. Our teams do the exact opposite. They spend all their time playing the game of business and zero time practicing for it. This document is practicing for the game of business. This is laying out, what is my priority? What does success look like? What happens if I don't get it done? Tell me again what it looks like. What are the tasks? Task 1, task 2, task 3, who's going to own it? What is it? Like all of the detail inside of this project. You do more work. Anybody that does project work for other people, you'll project plan the crap out of their work. I know you do, because I know what you do. Every single detail, timelines, all that stuff is put into that project plan for somebody that's paying you, but you won't take the time to do it for yourself. This is the most important tool in this entire set. You can go do all of the other stuff, but if you don't take the time to use this one, it won't matter as much. It won't matter as much. So do your practice. You have to put in the practice to play business at the highest level. And then always realize, especially as a business owner, the more your influence increases, the more your suffering is going to increase. And Dave Rendell showed me this. And when I saw it, I was like, explain it to me. I said, yeah, things make sense now. So this will make sense to some people. For some people, it's just going to irritate you. Quick question in the chat. Here we go. We just got a couple more minutes, so hang in there with me. Type in as fast as you can the names of the most influential leaders of all time, in all of history. Just start typing them in. The most influential leaders of all time, of all history. Jesus Christ, John Wooten, Hitler, Lincoln, Genghis Khan, George Washington, Gandhi, MLK, Malala, Churchill, Martin Luther King. Ooh, went deep there, Daniel. So if you take this list, and they've done this in studies, and you put the top 100 together, of the top 10 most influential leaders of all time, 5 of them we killed. 5 of them we killed. All of them had enormous amounts of suffering. Just look at the list that you put in here and think about the level of suffering that they went through as their influence continued to go up in their lives. Part of leadership, part of influence is there will be suffering that goes along with it. You're welcome for that little tidbit. And that's the end. Change is inevitable, growth is optional. I want to give you some quick access to these tools so you can put them to work. So write this down, www.petracoach.com/thevault. the vault. That's where you're going to go to download these tools. Two things you're going to find in there as well is, you mentioned this earlier, Mike, the No Try Only Do book as well as the Vitamin B book are both in there for download. So if you'd like to, you can just download them, be a PDF copy, PDF version. That way you don't have to steal your coworkers to read it. Mm. You're going to have a section in there that has all of the documents that we just talked about, plus some others. So now you know how to use them. You're going to have a section that has all of the workshops we're doing. If you'll write down Petra Strong as a code, you and your teams are welcome to attend any of these workshops at no charge, because you're affiliated with Captain America up here.
That's right.
And then if you would like for us to do any of these kind of 90-minute sessions with your teams, we'll do that for you at no charge as well. So if we go back to this document, it's essentially us working with you and your team for 90 minutes to make sure you have this completely filled out. We will put a coach in a room virtually with your teams. And all you have to do is, when you go to the vault, just click on this 90-minute session and it'll take you to this page. You'll fill this out and then you'll get a call from a coach and they'll zoom in and do that. We set, and Max and I were talking about this before the call, when March 13th hit and all hell broke loose, we sat down and said, what do we have and what are we going to do? So we said, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to keep what we got. So retention became very, very big for us. And then we said, we're going to create as much value as we possibly can. We want brand awareness, right? So we want to get brand awareness out there. And lastly is we're going to test and we're going to learn. So a lot of people look at, that doesn't cost anything. It costs nothing. These are our 4 things we're working on right now. Keeping our clients, right? Creating value, brand awareness, pure brand. You're going to know who we are if you come to a session or allow us in your office. You're going to know who we are, right? And then testing and learning. So I need to test all these things. I need to learn from them because I'm working on reset and getting back to offense myself, which for us starts July the 1st. So we have about a 30, 45-day window or so that we're just doing as much as we possibly can and gathering as much data. That brings me to the very end. This is my slide. It has my contact information. If I can do anything, let me know as always. So Mike, thanks for having me in.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was great. I appreciate you all attending, and we'll kick a recording out of the webinar to everyone, and I'll also be putting it on our YouTube channel.
All right, I'll hang out for a minute if somebody wants to ask any questions at all.
Thanks.
You're most welcome. Anybody have any questions?
Not seeing any come through.
No. That's cool.
I mean, you covered. I mean, you eliminated a lot of questions in that presentation.
Yeah, good. I got to go hang out with Mauricio back in February when I did a No Try Life version, which was fun. Paul, you want to just ask me, or you want to type it, or? We're going to go back to the original question. Can't hear you, man. Team is not responding well to them, almost to the point of realizing that I don't have the right team. Yes. Here's what sucks about this, man. I've been going through a lot of that myself. Let me do this. I'm gonna stop recording.